This is Justine Browning at Sunshine Cinemas in New York City, and we're here to talk to the cast of the indie favorite, Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. Alfonso Gomez, who directed the film, I understand that he gives his actors a lot of freedom to draw from their own personalities, their own lives, but on the other hand, you have such great source material for this script. So how did you balance the two?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It starts with the script, which you just have to trust. And when it's so honest and you see a lot of yourself in these characters, then it's really easy to kind of like dig deep and focus on those parts of yourself. And so then you just kind of are set free. And when a director trusts you, you feel very comfortable. And I never really had to like cry on cue or anything. I was not like scared to do that. It was like a weird feeling for me. But then this movie opened me up emotionally, and I took a real journey with these people that was unlike a lot of on-set experiences that I've had before.
It was always a discussion with the director. You know, we didn't go off and I was like, well, I'm going to do this as my character. We sat down with Alfonso a week before production and just discussed and created a backstory and what my character would want to do after school. And then, you know, because that became so innate, we when we got on set, we were able to just play in the realms of our characters, and Alfonso would come in and just give us minimal direction. But, you know, he'd already ingrained and instilled the character in us before shooting.
The writing was so true, written by Jesse Andrews, that none of it was too, crazy it was like everything in the script was something that we've lived through, It's words that we would say, it's the fumbleness, it's the goofiness and the naiveness, and it's so true. So I'm just like, you really don't have to do much, but try to make, do the script justice, really, And that's why I loved working, on this project. It was honest,
One of the scenes to me that made such an impact was the scene where Rachel's been in chemo and she's lost all of her hair, and she has that moment where she says, I didn't realize it was going to be so difficult to face this. I understand that you actually did shave your head, and I just can't imagine acting that scene and actually going through that process right before.
It was the biggest cheat for me as an actress because I really did feel all those emotions, and if I was wearing this really restricting bald cap that I was just thinking about all the time, I wouldn't have been able to get there. So for me, it was the best thing I did. And also, I thought it's such an honest film. I thought it'd be quite disrespectful if I didn't.
Yes, bald caps do look kind of fake sometimes.
Yeah, they do. There's not I've never seen a bald cap that looks real, ever.
It gave it such a great layer of authenticity, I think, to the role. And also, you have here the author of the book, who also wrote the screenplay.
Right.
Having the person who created this story, created this character on hand, how is that helpful to you?
It was wonderful. Alfonso would talk to us about the character, and if there was any hiccup or anything that he felt that didn't ring true with him, he'd go to Jesse and discuss with him, and he was always there. And we filmed in his house, we filmed in his school. Greg's bedroom was Jesse's childhood bedroom. It just felt so authentic, and it couldn't have been easier to really get into the mindset of a teenager in Pittsburgh because of him.
Earl and Greg, they gravitate towards one another because they're both outsiders, but they're outsiders in different ways. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, Greg is an outsider that's just, he means to be an outsider. He's just like, okay, I'm going to keep you at this length, so it's like a protective barrier around himself so he doesn't get hurt. Earl is just an outsider because he's weird. That's just it, Earl doesn't have really a real reason to be, an outsider. He just doesn't really, connect with anybody like he does with Greg, so.
This character is so compelling in that she's tragically funny.
Yeah.
And I think no one else could bring that to a role like you can. How do you do that?
Well, I always try to think about the emotional truth of the character and not make it, really come from a true place of what does this character want and what is she trying to do. And so, just try to be genuine.
We get such a sense of her loneliness and her isolation a little bit, even though she has her daughter there, the husband leaving, we get a sense that still upsets her till this day.
Yeah.
She's still bitter about it.
Exactly.
I'm wondering how the backstory played into your scenes.
How the backstory? I think that's, I like seeing who's coming in. The backstory is huge because she is lonely and she's a little bitter and she's hurt, but then she has to be a mother and take care of her daughter, and then on top of her daughter's gotten sick, so she's really dealing with a lot. Not just the divorce, but also being a, co-parenting, whatever, who knows what how it works, but co-parenting and then dealing with a daughter who's sick.